Hi, welcome to the Noise Podcast here with JR from Love and Death. We're going to ask some questions today. I'm going to start. So what inspired the creation of the band, and what does the band name mean?
Well, the band started back in 2012, but it was technically a rebranding of Brian Headwelch's solo project. And the name, it just, to us, it represented just kind of the two things that like are really, you know, what's the word? I guess really impactful in life, like, and so we were just like, those two things kind of like correlate together, and we just kind of liked it. So we are like, yeah, let's do that. So
Okay.
we chose it in like 30 seconds. So
Oh, wow.
There weren't
So it
any.
wasn't like a big debate or anything.
it wasn't, yeah, I mean, it was Brian's idea. I remember we were in the van just on tour, and he was like, what do you guys think about Love and Death? We were like, what does it mean? And he told us, we were like, that's cool.
Okay.
That's
We're
cool.
like, sure.
Sure, I guess. All right. So congrats on your upcoming release, Perfectly Preserved. How do you feel about the response to it so far, to the people you've shown it to, since at the time of recording it isn't quite out yet?
Yeah, it's been amazing. I mean, we've been kind of MIA for like 8 years,
Yeah.
since the last record. So it's kind of like, is anyone gonna care? Like coming back. And so it's just been really cool that people are excited about it, more than we are. And yeah, the response has been awesome. So we're like, thank you. But it hasn't been like, this sucks. So
Gloria and I both got a chance to listen to it, and I know I really enjoyed it, and I think
Oh, yeah.
Gloria did
It
as
was
well.
so good, front
cool.
to back.
Yeah.
Solid album.
I'm
awesome. Thank you.
I'm a fan of you guys, so I was like, holy shit, new album, and then got to listen to it early. I was like, holy shit. So
Yeah.
Speaking of that album, is there any meaning behind the album name Perfectly Preserved?
Yeah, so one of the writers that we wrote with on the record, his name's Keith Wallen. He's from Breaking Benjamin, and awesome dude and amazing writer, musician. He's so great. But the first song on the record, Infamy, the lyric Perfectly Preserved is in that. And I think when we first heard that, we were like, wow, this is like awesome, because we had an idea for a different name for the record that we were going to go with, and we kind of had like a whole album cover, all this stuff ready, and then we heard that and we were just like, I think we need to change everything, because we were like, this just feels more like it goes with the record and everything. And so we sent it to the guy that was doing the artwork and everything, and he really liked it too. He had a whole vision for it and really helped it bring it to life. But yeah, as far as the meaning, like the lyrics from that first song, it's perfectly preserved, follow you to the unknown. And as far as like personally us, Brian and I and the guys in the band, what we believe, that's just through like, Jesus, like our relationship with him, and just kind of like where he's going to take us, with life, and everything's kind of unsure, and there's a lot of hardship and stuff, but it's kind of like, just regardless, you trust him and you just go with the flow, see what happens. So I think it was kind of a cool way to title that, and call it that on the record. So, but again, like what we try to do is, we're not trying to shove anything down people's throats either. It's kind of like we try to write things that's up for interpretation. We want it to have multiple meanings to everyone. So,
okay,
definitely. Are you going to ask the same question?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, go for it.
So you said that you had like a different plan for the name and cover art. Are you able to tell us what that was, or is that staying under wraps?
Yeah, it was originally going to be called White Flag, just the record. And we had kind of an idea for, the album artwork and everything. And but at the same time, like we were like, yeah, that's cool. But it wasn't like this crazy, like, like we were all 100% on it. We're just kind of like, okay, this works, But yeah, once we heard that lyric, we were just like, that is awesome. You know? Like that would be really cool to like work with, and make something around that. So I think it was definitely a good thing we changed it. So, and especially like we were like, it's kind of weird with, all the racial injustice stuff going on, and having a record called White Flag too, where like it might come off a little weird, because like that's not what it means, but like it could be taken wrong. So we were like, it's probably a better way to go.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So I actually want to talk about the cover art for a second. Is there any meaning behind it? Because it's like a lady in a jar. Is it like
Yeah.
trying to grip onto youth and kind of preserve yourself, or is it like a whole different meaning?
Yeah, it was because again, like we have the meaning what it meant to us, but then we're also like, what could we like kind of put a spin on it, to have kind of a different kind of view of it. And yeah, the little girl, or I guess it's a girl. I don't really know if it is or not, but it looks like it. It looks like a girl in a jar.
Yeah.
But there's that, and then on the the little CD insert, if you go through it, there's other jars with like a heart in it. There's like a skull and a flower.
Ooh.
Like there's a bunch of different things. So it's just, yeah, we were trying to like, what's a cool artsy way to like, preserve something and like maybe kind of be like almost kind of shocking. I don't know if anyone was really expecting to see like a person in a jar.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No.
But at the same time, we wanted like our goal, we didn't want it to look super dark like another rock, like weird, like
Yeah.
we kind of want to make it like bright colors, like light, so that was something we really strived for too at the same time. But again, it was more of just like a artsy way of like showing what the name meant and stuff, kind of thing. So nothing super crazy as far as the meaning.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit about your writing process for the album?
Yeah, so it's been literally an 8-year process, since the last record came out, because we had originally started writing like a couple months after the first record came out back in 2013. But right around that time, Brian had made his way back to Korn, and our producer at the time, Jason Rao, he joined Breaking Benjamin like a year or two later. And then I was in another band called Islander for a couple of years and did a lot of different stuff as well. So we were all kind of just spread out on our own schedules, so it was really hard to like get it done, and so yeah, it's just been literally an 8-year process. And this last year, I hate to say it, it's like it took a pandemic to get it done, but it really did, like it freed everyone's time up. So yeah, so we were like, let's just take this time and like let's get this done, like we've been sitting on it for so long. And so around June or July last year is when we started finishing what we needed to finish, and recording stuff for real and getting it done. So but a lot of it was throwing stuff back and forth just online through email, people sending ideas and stuff, and then yeah, so everyone's spread out.
Okay.
Wait, so you said just kind of like finishing what you started with this album. Did you kind of have like half of it finished already and then you just kind of forgot about it, and then during the pandemic you just found it and were like, oh hey, we should finish that again?
Yeah, we had I'd say around 20-25 like song ideas kind of written out. I mean, some of them weren't all finished and stuff, so when we came back to this last year, we were sifting through everything and we like, okay, this is cool, this is kind of weak, let's throw that out, just kind of sifting through everything we had. And we kind of realized though, we were like, we think we could do better than this, so like we only ended up keeping like 4 or 5 songs, and then we wrote like 5 new songs last year, and which turns out to be like the first 5 songs of the record, I think 4 or 5 songs of the record. So and then like the tail end, you kind of get the stuff we've been writing over the years, that we kept. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, so that's kind of how it all went down.
Okay, yeah, that's really cool. Can you tell me which song took the longest to write and which one's your favorite? I know you said it was like an 8-year long process, but if you can remember start to finish.
As far as I think the longest one was probably it'd probably be White Flag, I think.
Okay.
We had started writing that one in I think it was 2015, and I remember I was with my other band at the time, Islander. I originally had written like the riff and the chorus for that band, and when when we were listening, we were like, this kind of sounds too much like something Love and Death would do, you know. So we never used it.
Okay.
So then when I had met up with Jason later on that year, you know, we were just like, you know, trying to write more, get stuff done, and I just showed him that, and he was like, this is really cool. So we took that and started, you know, writing it. But it was a really tricky song to kind of get the structure and kind of like the vibe of it right. You know, we had a lot of different variations of the song, and right up until like the tail end of like having to turn in the record to get it all out in time, we were still like, is this good? Should we change it? You know, we were still like going back and forth on it. So I would say that one was probably the longest that we spent on a song.
Okay. And your personal favorite?
Oh man, I feel like it changes every time I listen to it. It's like I love every song.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good. I think if I didn't have to choose the cover song we did, I think my favorite song would probably be I would say it's always a toss up between Slow Fire and Death of Us. Those are like
Death
the
of
two I
Us.
keep
Banger.
going back and forth on.
Banger.
I feel like Slow Fire has a very reminiscent sound of the first record, which I really like. But it's also got a new vibe to it. But and then Death of Us is just awesome. Like I just love the huge chorus and everything about it. It's really cool. So so those are the two I keep going back and forth on. One of those two.
All right.
Depends on which day I hear it.
So how did you guys go about choosing the opener and closer for the album? Was it shuffle? Did you guys spend hours putting it together?
Yeah, I mean, when we had heard, you know, Infamy, that was a song that was kind of brought to us by Keith, that guy that we wrote with. And it was so funny. He had messaged our producer, Joe, and he was like, hey, is this any good? You know, and we were like, dude, this is awesome. Like, what are you talking about? Like, this is really cool. And we were trying to figure out, like, okay, how do we incorporate this to the record, you know? And we were like, well, what if we just, you know, did like an intro for the record, you know, kind of be like kind of a segue into the whole thing. And so we took that idea and we messed with it, you know, we added a bunch of like, you know, like violin stuff and kind of like orchestral stuff with it. And it really turned out cool. And then, yeah, to end the record, we were just like, White Flag is pretty cool because it's, you know, it's kind of like the song is pretty much about, you know, being told that you can't do things or, you know, being put down about stuff, but you're always going to like, you know, just get back up and keep fighting, you know, regardless of what people say. So, so like, that's a pretty good way to end it, you know, on a note like that. So, yeah.
Okay.
Solid. So how did you guys actually go about picking the lead single since you haven't dropped a full length in about, I don't know, 8 years? So how did you do that?
Yeah, it was hard because again, like every song is really cool and we're, you know, any of these could probably be pretty rad as a single, you know, to come out with. And we were just trying to, you know, debating like what would be the best thing to come out with, you know, since it's been 8 years, like what do you think would really kind of like, you know, give the fans that have been with us from the start, like, oh, awesome, they're back. This is like the sound I've been missing, but also like cater to like new people who've never heard us and be like, this is rad, you know? And we felt like Down kind of like really captured both of those vibes, you know, like it's new. It's not exactly like the last record, but it definitely still has that vibe, you know, and our sound. So it was a toss up between that and Death of Us. And we're actually thinking about, you know, Let Me Love You as being one of the singles as well. So, but we were like, we'll do an original, you know, so we ended up going with Down. But yeah, I mean, I think the response was great. And I think people were really stoked when it came out and were surprised, you know, so from what I've heard. So maybe they haven't been, I don't know.
I mean, getting a chance to listen to the record, I think that Down was definitely like one of the more accessible songs too, to like kind of put out there, because Dead for 8 years, a bunch of people haven't heard of you in a minute. So like, they might have forgotten or whatever. And then you had also said that White Flag was like one that you guys were questioning up until like The Wire. What made you guys put it out as a single then?
Yeah, I think what we wanted to do is, like you said, like it's very true. Down is very more accessible kind of song, a broader audience. We can push that towards. So I think what we wanted to do is like, okay, we put out that, now let's give them something that's like heavy, just something that like something people wouldn't expect to be a single almost, like, because the chorus is very much like a single, but then you've just got like Brian screaming his lungs off and just like going nuts on the verses and stuff, so we were like, let's just like surprise everyone and just like hit him in the face with this, so that's kind of what we wanted to do, just to kind of excite people, be like, okay, it's still heavy, because some people are like, Down is cool, but wish it was heavier, so we were like, all right, here you go.
Gotta show them that we're still heavy. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
So can you tell me where your headspace was at while you guys were writing this?
Yeah, it was, I think once 2020 happened and the pandemic stuff, all the racial injustice and everything going on in the world, it was, kind of a crazy time to be in the process of like, okay, let's finish this record. And we ended up writing 5 new songs and everything. So I think, everyone was just kind of in the headspace of what was going on in the world. We can't really do anything, because of the pandemic, at least for, our biggest thing is touring, and we can't do that. So it was like, we're at home and, we want to like still do something. So like writing music is what we know best, so just trying to talk about, what we've been through, what we know people are going through right now with everything going on. I mean, it's just been so crazy, like this whole last year. And I know like, the suicide rates have been through the roof too and everything. So just trying to like, talk about those things and bring some hope to people, like regardless of what's going on, like, we're going to get through this and come out on the end stronger, so I think that's where we were all kind of at with as far as writing.
Okay.
All right. That's good. So while going through the album, what band or artist influences do you think pop out the most, if any?
I think, we all have our own influences, and I think you can really hear, obviously Brian has that Korn sound, I mean, that's him, and also Jason, his writing is, you can definitely hear the Breaking Benjamin influence as well. And I've, with writing with those guys since the first record, and now, like I've taken a lot in and learned a lot from them. And so kind of made my own thing out of that as well. And Brian really wanted me to write more on this record, so he kind of left the guitar stuff in my hands, Jason and I. So most of everything you hear, it ended up being me just writing and stuff. And then Brian would, sprinkle his little sound in there and stuff too. He said, and because we don't want to just be like, oh, it's like a Korn ripoff band, like everyone thinks, so like we're like, we want it to stand on its own. But I definitely think, you hear obviously those influences, and how those guys write, personally. But I think, it's very diverse, in a sense. It's not so just one way. And I think that's partially because, Brian and I are singing a lot more together on this record, kind of back and forth. So it's not so much like screaming the whole time. There's a lot more like clean vocals as well. Him and I switching off and that kind of dynamic. So it makes it kind of unique. But yeah, so
definitely. Yeah.
So you had brought up the cover, and I want to ask a question about that. So you guys have that cover, Let Me Love You. What made you guys choose that song out of all the songs you could possibly cover? And were there any other ones that you were like throwing around to be like, oh, we should maybe this one, maybe that one kind of thing?
Yeah, that I take full responsibility. It's my choice.
Come on.
I love all kinds of music. I'm more of like, not so much just like I love rock and everything else sucks. I'm more of just like a fan of music in general. And I can speak for Brian too. I know like one of his favorite things and my favorite things is like mixing melody and like heavy, just like those two kind of things. So when I first heard, this is so funny because, like, again, it's been an 8-year process. So when we were still writing, Let Me Love You came out in like what, 2015, 2016.
Oh my God, yeah.
Jesus.
And I remember hearing that song and I was like, I just loved the message, the lyrics, the melody. Like, it was just really cool, and I know Brian really liked it as well. And I remember I was literally just driving one day listening to the song, and I was like, I just had this idea in my head. I was like, what if it was just like a 4 on the floor, just driving riff, like, what if that could be really cool? So I remember I just drove home. At the time I didn't know how to record anything really good. So I just threw on GarageBand and, tried to make some kind of demo. And, and I remember sending it to Brian. I was like, all right, hear me out. I was like, I know it's Justin Bieber, but give me a chance. I was like, just check this out. Tell me what you think. And he was like, this is awesome. He really liked the idea and the vision for it. So we just kind of ran with it. And, we ended up getting Lacey Sturm, who former vocals of Flyleaf, on it as well. And I think that brought a really cool dynamic to it too, having like her on it as well. And so, yeah, I think it came out a lot better than we thought it was going to, because we were like, oh, this would be cool. And then it was just like, okay, this is really cool.
Yeah.
And we had one other song that we were thinking about doing a cover of, but we ended up doing this instead. And, but yeah, I think I love it, but it's one of my favorites. I was like, it's just fun. It's a fun song. It's kind of like a lighter kind of feel, not so heavy as far as like lyrically and stuff, but it was just really fun to record and do, and so you never know, maybe Justin will see it and post it. I don't know. We'll see.
Imagine.
That'd be really cool.
You said you had another song you guys were talking about doing. Can you tell us what that might have been?
Brian told me, just in case we use it, don't tell anyone. So
God damn it, Brian.
I know, but it is like another like pop kind of song.
Okay.
But it's a little more darker. So it wasn't such like a light poppy song. It's a little more darker, but yeah, he was like, maybe we'll end up using it, so we'll see. So
is this going to become like your thing, like have a cover on each album? Because I know you guys have one on the first one as well.
Yeah, we didn't originally like think of it being like a thing, it was just kind of like, this song is really cool. It'd be cool to make a cover of it. We weren't like, we need to have a cover, on the record. So, but it's almost kind of become a thing. But yeah, so, I guess I can say the last song, it was a Post Malone song, the other choice. But yeah.
All right.
Interesting. Okay.
So
see, I like Post Malone, so I'm very interested now. I'm intrigued.
So LP3, 10 years from now, we'll have the Post Malone song on it.
We'll be back in 10 more years for another record.
Oh my God. Jesus Christ. So actually, speaking of that cover, you have a feature on it, as you mentioned, and along with that one song, you have 2 other features on 2 other songs. What was that like, working with 3 people on one record, and what made that happen? How'd you get those people?
It was cool. It was, it was kind of a planned out thing. We wanted it to be more of a collaborative effort to begin with, and just kind of like, again, just, have friends of ours that are in the industry and that we've toured with or know, just be a part of it, and just have fun doing that with them. So, I know with Lacey being on the cover, Brian, even before I knew him, he knew her and always wanted to do some kind of collaboration with her. And so when we hit her up about it, she was totally for it and really excited to be a part of it, which is really cool. And it was so weird because I remember just like, I remember listening to Flyleaf when I was in like middle school,
wow.
So it was just like, it was such a, I don't like fangirl or anything, but it was just like, I was like, this is crazy. I remember just like, she was like, or just Flyleaf was such a big deal, like, and like everyone was just blown away that this tiny like chick was just screaming her brains out and like the way she sounded, it was just, everyone was like, oh my gosh, so, and even seeing her do it in person and stuff is just crazy. She's got such a powerful voice. So just being a part of something with her, has been really kind of, full circle, like super trippy, you know, that I used to listen to her, and then now we're like singing on a song together, you know. But she's one of the nicest people in the world, you know, and it was really cool to be a part of that with her. And with White Flag, you know, we had Ryan Hayes from the band Righteous Vendetta, and he's great as well, great writer, and his band is awesome. And our drummer with us, he used to be in that band way back, like years ago. So we had that kind of connection there. And then obviously, you know, Keith Wallen, I was talking about, he wrote with us a lot on the record, and the song The Hunter, which comes out Friday, actually. He was a big part in writing, you know, like the lyrics for that one. And we were like, dude, you should just sing this, like, just be a part of the song.
Yeah.
He was like, really? You know, it's so funny. Like, he's so humble, which is awesome, you know, but it's just like, we're like, dude, you're amazing. Please, like, be on this. Cause he's like, thank you so much for having me on. We're like, dude, thank you. Like, we love you. So, but yeah, he crushed it. It sounds awesome. I love the song, love the message. I mean, everything he brought to the table is great. So it was just cool to be able to work with like really talented, gifted musicians that are also just, you know, super humble and just excited to be a part of something with us. So it was really fun.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Sounds great. Yeah.
So this question should be super quick. Off the top of your head, I want you to describe this album for new listeners in 3 words.
Nostalgic.
Ooh, okay.
Fresh. And oh man, I was trying to think really fast. What would be the last one?
You're so close. It's one more. Fun?
Does that work?
That'll work.
Sure.
Question fun.
It's good. So is there a certain feeling or emotion you want this album to invoke in your listeners, or is it just kind of like an interpret it in your own way?
Yeah, like I said, you know, a big thing for us is we try to, you know, brush with broad strokes the lyrics and stuff. Like, you know, it has meaning to us, what it means personally, and but we also want people to be able to relate to the lyrics with whatever in their life they're going through or have had happen, that, you know, they can really relate to the content of what we're talking about. So there's that aspect of it. And then again, you know, like we were talking about, just with everything going on in the world when we were writing, you know, we're just trying to bring some hope and clarity, you know, to people who may be, you know, really in the thick of it and struggling with everything going on. And so that's really what we hope people get out of it. You know, if they are in a dark place with, you know, the times we're in, that they can relate to the lyrics somehow, and, you know, it could help them with what they're going through. You know, I think that's the biggest thing that we strive to do, and we hope that the album will accomplish, you know. So yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
All right. So you guys are doing a virtual concert for this album. What can fans expect from your first performance in 7 years?
Dude, I'm nervous too. I mean, you know, it's just like we haven't. The last time we played a show was back in 2014. That was our last show we ever played, and so we were just like, it would be really cool if we did something like that, you know, because I mean, first off, putting a record out, you know, everyone's been waiting so long, so that's cool. But we were like, what if we, you know, did like some kind of like live show, you know, if we could make it happen, you know, with everything going on. So yeah, we were like, let's do this, you know. And I mean, we've been practicing, like, you know, the old songs, the new songs, getting ready. And it's been, for me at least, you know, it's been kind of nostalgic going back and playing those old songs, like kind of like learning them and going back to them. It's been cool because I mean, this was like my first like band I was actually a part of and toured and stuff. Aww. So it's kind of like my going back to my first love, you know, almost, you know. So it's been really cool to just do that, and then also, you know, learning these new songs and whatnot. So I think it's going to be awesome. You know, we have a ton of like special guests too that are going to be a part of it, you know, and so I think people will be excited and enjoy it, you know. I think we're going to enjoy it. So hopefully we don't sound too bad for not playing. but yeah, we're excited. We hope the fans love it. That's we just want to give people something to kind of escape. With what's going on and stuff. Just enjoy the music and have some fun. So yeah.
Hell yeah.
So speaking of you guys kind of being dead for 8 years, what inspired the actual like revival of the project? I know you said that it was just kind of finishing what you started, and also will you guys dip again after this album and just say, okay, bye, virus is gone, so we're going back to our own separate projects, or are you here to stay?
Yeah, I think we never intended for it to kind of die off. I think just with everyone being in their own separate full-time thing, it kind of ended up happening. And with coming back and stuff again, like our schedules got freed up, so we were like, let's do this thing, let's and so we did. And we've talked about too, like, is this something where we're doing this and then like we're just gonna blip out again or something? And which we don't want to happen. We have talked about it and we want to keep doing stuff. So so hopefully we can be able to keep going with it afterwards. And yeah, we'll see. I mean, we still have a bunch of other songs that we ended up not using, so we could always go back and maybe do another record. I'm not saying it for sure, but but we have talked about that, and we definitely do want to keep going if it's possible. So
okay.
We shall see what happens.
Definitely.
Since you brought up having more songs, would you guys do like a deluxe edition, expanded edition like you guys did for the first one, or would it be like a new record? Have you guys talked about that at all?
Yeah, we've talked about possibly doing like a deluxe. We've talked about possibly doing a version with like a DVD that comes with the live show we're doing, stuff like that. So so we're kind of going back and forth talking about what that could look like, and so we'll just see. We're kind of like waiting to see how the live stream does, like if people like show up and watch it, and like see how it goes. But yeah, there's definitely some options we could go with down the road as far as doing something like that. So
okay.
All right. Speaking of the live show, actually, I wanted to ask, are you planning on doing a live album with it? I know it isn't technically like in-person live, but it's still like your first show in 7 years, and also like it's more content, I guess, to put out. Would you ever consider that?
Yeah, we definitely talked about that being a thing. We were kind of going back and forth with it because like, a lot of times like a live album, you hear a crowd,
Yeah.
So having it be like, there's none of that, we were like, well, maybe it'd be weird if there wasn't, so we're still kind of debating if we would do that. I mean, I think it would still be cool though, because people would remember like, oh yeah, that's when there was a pandemic and there couldn't be people. So like, it's still, pretty cool, but we'll see. I mean, regardless, we're going to release it in some way, whether it's that or just a DVD or both, so we'll see what happens, but yeah,
okay.
It's been thought of.
All right, sick.
And one more question of, have you guys thought about it? When the world opens up, will you guys be going on the road, or will it just stay to like we're doing the studio stuff and then going back to our full-time gigs?
Yeah, it's we've talked about it. It just, I think the biggest thing is having it make sense, like financially, like for everyone. Yeah. So we're open to it. We're open to the idea of it, and we'll see what happens. Yeah, with everything going on, it's like it's literally day by day to see what happens next. So everyone's just kind of like, a lot of bands are planning shows and stuff right now, and then just kind of waiting, to see if it falls through, kind of thing. So yeah, we'll see. I know, definitely each of us with our full-time bands, are definitely planning hopefully to come back as soon as everything turns around. But yeah, we would definitely like to do something, actually live, whether it's just maybe playing some festivals throughout the year, one-off kind of thing, or maybe jumping on a tour or something, if we can. So yeah, we'll see, just kind of in limbo with the world in chaos right now.
Yeah, that's fair.
Put all your full-time gigs on one big lineup and then you guys open the show. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Exhausting,
cool.
but
I mean,
oh yeah,
because when the first Love and Death record came out, we toured with Korn all year, because that's right when Brian went back.
yeah.
We basically opened up like all the tours that year and jumped on festivals with them. And it was fun, but I remember like the tours we did, there was only like 3 bands. So like we would open, there'd be a band in between and then Corn. And I know Brian was just like dead by
Brian
the
would be
time.
shot out by the time. Yeah.
So,
God.
so yeah, kind of like if there was a tour, maybe have like 1 or 2 more bands in between.
Yeah.
Give them a
Yeah.
break.
Give yourself a good break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really.
So yeah, we'll see. But that would be crazy. Do
Yeah.
like a huge stacked lineup, just everyone's solo project and then their main band.
That'd be really cool. Yeah.
So where do you see the band in the next 5 years?
Hopefully still doing stuff, it'd be cool. I think regardless, if there's any way to keep it going, even if there is somewhat of a little break or whatever, I think it's always in the back of our mind to keep doing stuff with this project. So it's kind of like an outlet for us to kind of do things that we couldn't in our other bands, just kind of like sound wise and stuff, like have a little more freedom to just kind of do what we want almost, not stick to like just a certain kind of sound or formula. So I definitely think the desire for all of us to keep it going is definitely there. And I think you'll still see us in 5 years, fingers crossed, you'll see, but
all right,
it'd be cool.
It would, yeah. So for the last couple questions, we're actually going to shift away from music, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
Sick. So we're going to go straight to death row.
Boom.
So if you're on death row, what would your last meal be with a drink?
The world's biggest boom.
Oh my gosh, this question terrifies me.
Oh.
Because I love food. So it's so hard to be like this for sure. I mean, I know one of my favorite things, I live in Arizona and we have In-N-Out. So I love getting a double with an animal fry and a lemon up to drink, which is pink lemonade and 7-Up mixed together.
That sounds delicious. Yeah.
So that's one of my favorite meals. I also love pizza. Pizza is one of my favorite things. So that's why it's so hard. It's like there's so many good things that I love. Like, what would I choose?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'd probably go with In-N-Out. I think that'd be the one. Yeah. Okay. It's like comfort food.
Yeah, definitely.
Your answer made me unreasonably hungry. I haven't had lunch yet.
Me neither. I haven't eaten yet, so I'm like, maybe I'll just go to In-N-Out after.
Yeah. So if you could live in one fictional world for a week, where would you live?
Ooh. Oh man. So I've been watching WandaVision lately.
Ooh.
It's awesome, by the way. I can't stop watching like theory videos on it. I've like heard all the theories and I keep watching and I'm like, what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
I think living in maybe one of the Marvel timelines would be pretty crazy. It'd be cool.
Yeah. Would you just be like a hero or would you just be like a bystander?
Probably a hero, because if you're a bystander, you're kind of in danger of getting destroyed.
At all times. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd probably be some kind of hero. It'd be cool.
Okay.
All right. Solid. So I have the honor of asking the last question. Every single person we've spoken to has actually said it is the most important question. What's your favorite color?
Okay, so there's always this thing where like people say black and white aren't colors, they're shades.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that still stands or where everyone ended up with that debate.
So Shane thinks they're colors and I think they're shades. So it's really, if you want it to be a color, it's a color. I'll just fight you on it. But in my own head, I won't actually say anything. So.
If I could choose shades, I would probably go with black and white. I really like the way those look. Or even like black and gold. I love that.
Ooh, yeah.
But if it's just one color, like excluding the shades, it would probably be... I really like gold. Gold looks cool.
Very good color.
So yeah, I'd probably go with that. It's fancy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Looks nice.
Taste. All right.
So as Gloria said, that's all the questions we have today. Is there anything that you would like to plug?
Love and Death. I know this whole podcast has been a plug. But yeah, if you haven't heard of us, check out our new record. It comes out February 12th and we have a live show the same day. And all that, you can get tickets on our website and all that is there, loveanddeathmusic.com. And yeah, that's about it. I hope you guys enjoy it, and hope you guys stay safe with everything going on. And we appreciate you guys, you guys doing this, doing interviews with artists and, helping us get the word out. And, we couldn't do without you guys as well. So we appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sitting down with us. This has been JR from Love and Death, and we're the Good Noise Podcast.